It was a night like any other, seemingly peaceful and calm. Until it wasn't. The tranquility shattered, replaced by an enigma that continues to baffle us to this day. The Pacific Ocean stretched below, a dark mirror for the stars, reflecting the vastness of the cosmos above. It was a canvas of deep blues and blacks, speckled with the distant light of faraway galaxies. A military charter flight, a Lockheed L-1049 Super Constellation, crossed that vast emptiness. 93 American soldiers, mostly young, were on board, full of hopes and dreams for the future. Little did they know what fate had in store for them. Their destination, South Vietnam, a place not yet infamous but soon to be consumed by conflict. A land on the brink of war, where these young men were headed to serve their country. They were the vanguard of a conflict about to erupt, unknowingly stepping into a historical turning point, and then, they vanished. Disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only questions and a void that could never be filled. No wreckage was ever found, despite extensive search efforts. No bodies were recovered, leaving families without the chance to say a final goodbye. No answers emerged, only speculation and theories that failed to provide any real comfort. Just an empty sky, a silent testament to a mystery that has endured for decades. March 16, 1962, a time of Cold War tension and secret missions when the world was divided and the stakes were incredibly high. The men on Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 were Army Rangers, electronics specialists, highly skilled in their field, communications experts, vital for maintaining contact in the field. Their mission was so secret, even their families knew little about the true nature of their assignment. They were told it was routine, a simple transport. It wasn't. The reality was far more complex and dangerous. The plane disappeared without a trace, vanishing into thin air. No distress call was ever received, no warning signs, no indication of trouble. The radio went silent, radar went blank, as if the aircraft had simply ceased to exist. It was as if the aircraft had been plucked from the sky by some unseen force. The mystery began in that instant, a puzzle with no apparent solution. For over 60 years, families have waited, clinging to the hope that one day they might learn the truth. For answers that never came, their letters unanswered, their questions ignored. The world moved on, caught up in new events and fresh tragedies. Vietnam became a war, headlines changed, and the world's attention shifted elsewhere. But for the families of the 93 soldiers and 11 crew, the world stood still. Time stood still, frozen in that moment of uncertainty and grief. How do you mourn someone with no grave, no final resting place to visit and remember them? No story to tell, no closure to bring peace to their hearts? The sky remained empty, a constant reminder of what was lost, and so did the hearts of those left behind, forever marked by this unexplained tragedy. The silence that followed was deafening, a heavy weight pressing down on those who remembered. One moment a plane full of life soared through the night carrying dreams and aspirations. The next it was gone, swallowed by the darkness. No clues, no closure, just an enduring mystery. The story of Flight 739 is a story of loss, silence, and a question that still haunts. What happened that night, out there in the vast expanse of the Pacific? The answer may still be out there, hidden in the deep, waiting to be discovered. For the families, the pain never faded, a constant ache in their hearts. For history, the mystery endures, a cold case that refuses to be forgotten. The empty sky remains, waiting for the truth to finally emerge and fill the void. And so do those left behind, still searching for answers, still hoping for peace. On the surface, Flight 739 appeared to be just another routine military charter, a logistical cog in the vast machinery of Cold War operations. A Lockheed Super Constellation, a reliable workhorse of the era, operated by the Flying Tiger Line, a civilian airline contracted for military transport. Seemingly reliable, undeniably professional, and ostensibly routine. Every bolt tightened, every system checked. 93 soldiers, young men mostly, departed Travis Air Force Base in California bound for Saigon, a city then on the cusp of becoming a household name, though few at home fully grasped its significance. The journey, a considerable distance across the Pacific, was broken by necessary refueling stops. First Hawaii, a tropical paradise turned strategic outpost, then Wake Island, a tiny speck of land with a crucial airstrip, and finally Guam, before heading on to the Philippines. But beneath the veneer of routine, this was no ordinary deployment. These were not just any soldiers, these were Green Berets, highly trained electronics and communications experts, specialists in unconventional warfare. Their mission was strictly classified, Codenamed Operation Project Firefly, they were being sent to support South Vietnamese forces bolstering their defenses against the growing threat of the Viet Cong insurgency. The American public knew comparatively little of the complex situation unfolding in Vietnam at that time. The men on board were, in effect, pioneers, stepping onto the stage of a war that was not yet officially declared, a conflict shrouded in ambiguity. Their families back home were told almost nothing about the true nature of their deployment. The intense secrecy surrounding their mission would ultimately contribute to erasing them and their sacrifice from the pages of history. The flight plan itself appeared straightforward, a series of well-defined coordinates across familiar airspaces. The crew was experienced and highly qualified, the plane thoroughly inspected and deemed airworthy. Everything seemed to adhere strictly to established military procedures. Everything was by the book, or so it seemed on the surface. But in the shadowy world of covert operations and secret missions, the line between the real and the perceived is often blurred, and nothing is ever truly routine. The stage was meticulously set for a journey into the unknown, a venture fraught with unseen risks and unspoken dangers. They packed their bags with the gear of war, said their goodbyes to loved ones, perhaps with a lingering sense of foreboding, and boarded the plane, unaware of the fate that awaited them. They could not have known, as the aircraft soared into the vast expanse of the Pacific, that they were flying inexorably toward a mystery far deeper and more perplexing than any battlefield they might have encountered. The last leg of their journey would tragically become their last flight, a final fateful plunge into oblivion. The mission's inherent secrecy, designed to protect national interests, would ultimately become an inextricable part of its enduring tragedy. The men, dedicated and dutiful, trusted implicitly in the mission they were assigned, and in the reliability of the machine that carried them. But tragically, neither the mission nor the machine would ultimately bring them home, back to their families and loved ones. The journey, full of promise and purpose, ended abruptly, prematurely, before it truly even began, and history, in its relentless march forward, would almost completely forget them, their names fading into the mists of time. The final leg began at Andersen Air Force Base, Guam, just after midnight. The Super Constellation was refueled and ready. 93 soldiers and 11 crew boarded for the last time. The takeoff was uneventful. The plane climbed into the night. On the ground, controllers watched its blip on radar. Everything normal. Inside, soldiers tried to sleep, talked quietly, or stared into the darkness. They were unaware their future would be measured in minutes. The plane carried more than men letters, photos, hopes. Each man was the center of someone's world. As Guam's lights faded, they left one world for another, but they would never arrive. That final goodbye on the tarmac was truly final. The sky swallowed them whole, and the silence began. The flight to Clark Air Base, Philippines, was a long haul, a journey across vast stretches of the Pacific. The meticulously planned route was to last 8 hours, a testament to the distances involved, and the precision required in those early days of trans-Pacific flights. Captain Murray Campbell and his crew were seasoned veterans, men who had flown countless hours and faced every challenge the skies could throw at them. They were the best of the best. 80 minutes after takeoff, the aircraft was well on its way, the crew settling into the routine of the long flight. A routine radio call crackled through the airwaves. All was well, a standard communication to confirm their position and status. It was the last message ever heard from Flight 739, a chilling realization that would soon grip the world. The next scheduled check-in brought only static, an unsettling silence that hinted at something terribly wrong. Controllers called again and again, their voices filled with growing concern. No response, only the deafening silence of the radio. The radar blip, a small point of light representing the aircraft, flickered and vanished from the screen, swallowed by the vastness of the Pacific. 104 souls, men, women, and children simply gone, vanished without a trace into the immense ocean. At first, there were rational explanations, the kind of scenarios that could account for a temporary loss of contact. Perhaps it was radio trouble, a temporary malfunction, or a missed check-in due to unforeseen circumstances. But as time passed, and the hours turned into days, dread set in, a cold fear that gripped everyone involved. No distress call, no mayday signal sent out in desperation, no warning, no indication of any impending disaster, just silence, an unbroken, unsettling quiet that spoke volumes. In most disasters there's a sequence, a struggle against the odds, a desperate communication for help, and ultimately debris scattered across the scene. Here, there was only a void, an emptiness that defied explanation. The absence of a distress call suggested something catastrophic and instantaneous, something that offered no chance for a response. No time to react, no opportunity to avert the disaster, no time to say goodbye, no final words to loved ones. The silence itself became the most haunting clue, a stark reminder of the sudden and complete disappearance. Planes don't just disappear, not without leaving some trace, some indication of what happened, but this one did, vanishing into thin air, leaving behind only questions and unanswered prayers. The Pacific offered only silence, a vast, indifferent expanse that held its secrets close. The mystery deepened with each passing day, the lack of evidence only adding to the confusion and frustration. The world would never hear from Flight 739 again, its fate sealed in the depths of the Pacific. The silence was total, a complete and utter absence of any communication or trace, and it remains, a haunting enigma that continues to baffle investigators and torment the families of those who were lost. When Flight 739 was declared missing, a massive search began. The U.S. military deployed ships and planes across 200,000 square miles of ocean. For 8 days, crews scoured the waves for any sign. They found nothing. No wreckage, no oil slick, no life rafts. It was as if the plane had evaporated. Even in violent crashes, something is usually found. But the Pacific kept its secrets. The search was called off on March 23, 1962. 104 people were presumed dead. The official report, cause unknown, no wreckage, no analysis, no answers. For the families, the search for truth was just beginning. The ocean had swallowed everything. The mystery was complete. The search for the plane was over, but the search for answers would last a lifetime, and still does. Amid the silence, one report stood out. The crew of the SS Lenzen, a civilian oil tanker, saw a bright flash in the sky near the plane's last known position. They described an explosion, followed by 2 reddish lights falling toward the ocean. The timing and location matched Flight 739's path. The tanker's captain reported the sighting immediately. The military searched the area. Again, nothing was found. No debris, no evidence. Despite the credible eyewitness account, the military discounted it. The official report mentioned the sighting but found no link to the missing plane. For families and investigators, this dismissal was suspicious. Why ignore the only real lead? The SS Lenzen's report remains a tantalizing clue. Was it the key to the mystery? If so, why did the wreckage vanish? The light in the darkness was never explained. For the families, loss was compounded by silence from their own government. Because the plane disappeared in peacetime, the men were not considered combat casualties. Their names are not on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. This bureaucratic technicality has caused decades of pain. Families have campaigned for recognition, arguing these men were the first casualties of the war. The Department of Defense has consistently denied their requests. The crash fell outside the official combat zone. For families, it feels like erasure. Their loved ones are lost to the sea, and to history. The fight for recognition continues. Families have built their own memorials, refusing to let the memory fade. They battle the silence, seeking honor for the lost. The struggle for justice endures. In the absence of facts, theories flourish. Some say catastrophic mechanical failure, a sudden explosion or dive. But that doesn't explain the total lack of debris. Others suspect sabotage, a bomb, or enemy action. The Cold War was a time of spies and covert operations. The sabotage theory fits the eyewitness report of an explosion. Some believe the flight was a high-value target. More exotic theories abound: accidental shoot-down, even UFOs. None have evidence. The frustration of not knowing fuels speculation. Planes don't just vanish, something happened. But what? The logical explanations fail and the mind wanders. The void remains. The truth is still out there somewhere in the silence. More than 60 years later, the truth remains elusive. The Pacific's depths are vast and unforgiving. The technology to search them barely exists, even now. The plane and its passengers likely rest where no one will ever find them. Families have grown old, but their quest for answers endures. They hold ceremonies, share memories, and demand recognition. Their persistence is a testament to love and loss. Flight 739 is a haunting reminder. Even in the modern world, a plane can simply disappear. 93 soldiers went to serve and never came home. Their families live with a lifetime of unanswered questions. The silence of that night echoes still. What happened? Accident, sabotage, or something else? The ocean holds its secrets. The empty sky waits for the truth.